Marie Curie's name is etched into history, from buildings to streets and statues in her honor. But what did she endure, sacrifice, and overcome to earn her rightful place in history? Born Maria Salomea Skłodowska in Poland on November 7, 1867, Marie grew up in a family that highly valued education. However, in Russian-controlled Poland, women were not allowed to attend university, let alone become scientists. Along with her sister Bronia, Marie attended the Flying University, a secret school that changed locations to avoid detection by Russian authorities. Her father, a science teacher, supported her curiosity, but could not afford to send her to college. Determined to follow her passion for science, Marie made a deal with Bronia. Marie would work as a governess, a private tutor to fund Bronia's medical studies in France. In exchange, Bronia later helped Marie move to Paris and enroll at the prestigious Sorbonne. At the Sorbonne, Marie earned her degree in physics in 1893, graduating at the top of her class. She continued her studies and obtained a second degree in mathematics the following year. During this time, she met Pierre Curie, a distinguished physicist who was 8 years older than her. Marie sought a research project for her doctoral thesis and needed Pierre's expertise and access to his lab to pursue her research. Their intellectual partnership grew into a strong professional and personal bond, leading to their marriage in 1895. After marrying Pierre, Marie's scientific journey took an exciting turn when she learned about a groundbreaking discovery in 1896. Henri Becquerel, a French physicist, had found that uranium salts emitted invisible rays capable of passing through paper and fogging photographic plates. This phenomenon, later called radioactivity, fascinated Marie, and she chose to make it the focus of her doctoral research, starting a detailed study of these uranium rays. Marie set out to measure the intensity of uranium's rays by adapting an electrometer that Pierre and his brother had invented. While working with pitchblende, a uranium-rich mineral, she was surprised to find that the intensity of the radiation emitted was much higher than expected based on the amount of uranium in her samples. This led her to suspect that there was an unknown, highly radioactive substance in the mineral. Pierre agreed with her, and together they decided to search for this substance, confident that their combined efforts would lead to quick results. Her early research, conducted alongside her husband, was often carried out under difficult conditions. The laboratory setup was inadequate, and both had to teach extensively to make a living. Despite these challenges, in July 1898, they eventually succeeded in isolating a black powder that was 330 times more radioactive than uranium, based on their measurements. They named it polonium, after Marie's homeland, and months later, they successfully isolated radium, derived from the Latin word radius, meaning ray, because it emitted a glow in the dark. Later, other scientists would explain this mysterious phenomenon. The energy emitted came from radium atoms breaking down, shedding particles, and transforming into different elements. With this discovery, Marie challenged two fundamental principles of chemistry: that atoms are the smallest units of matter, and that one element cannot transform into another. Marie further developed techniques to separate radium from radioactive residues in large enough quantities to allow for its detailed study, particularly its potential therapeutic properties. After 4 years of hard work, she had accumulated barely enough pure radium to fill a thimble. After discovering radium in 1898, Marie and Pierre chose not to pursue a patent or profit from its production, despite the financial strain they faced in obtaining the uranium slag needed to extract the element. Instead, the Curies generously shared their findings with other researchers and openly provided the process for producing radium to interested industrial parties. Factories then began to emerge in the United States to supply the element, not only to the scientific community, but also to the curious public. Although the full properties of radium were not yet understood, its glowing green appearance captivated consumers, and it found its way into a wide range of products. By the 1920s, the price of a single gram of radium had soared to $100,000, an amount roughly equivalent to $1.5 million in 2024. It was an ironic twist of fate, as Marie found herself unable to afford the very substance she had discovered along with her husband. Despite this, she had no regrets, stating in an interview, "Radium is an element, it belongs to the people." In 1903, the collective discoveries of Marie and Pierre Curie, along with their contemporary Henri Becquerel, were nominated by the French Academy for the Nobel Prize in Physics. However, due to the prevailing sexist attitudes of the time, Marie's contributions were overlooked, and her name was not even mentioned. Fortunately, a sympathetic member of the nominating committee, a math professor named Gösta Mittag-Leffler, wrote to Pierre alerting him to the omission. Pierre then wrote to the committee, insisting that he and Marie be recognized together for their work on radioactive bodies. Eventually, the wording of the official nomination was amended, and in 1903, Marie became the first woman in history to receive the Nobel Prize. In the same year, she also completed her doctoral degree with her thesis titled Research on Radioactive Substances, based on the work that led to her Nobel recognition. This made her the first woman in France to earn a doctorate. However, this success was met with resistance. Verbal battles erupted as people debated whether a woman could be both a good wife and mother while working outside the home. When some reporters visited the Curie household and found Marie away at the lab, they labeled her a bad mother. Yet Marie's dedication to both her family and her work in science proved these narrow views wrong, as she continued challenging traditional gender roles and expectations. Tragically, in 1906, Marie's life was altered when Pierre was killed in a street accident after being struck by a horse-drawn carriage. Although the French government offered her a pension, she declined, insisting she could support herself and her children. Her determination drove her to continue working, and she succeeded Pierre in his role as professor at the Sorbonne, becoming the first woman to hold a professorship at the university. However, her personal life would soon become a target of public scrutiny. In 1911, rumors spread about an affair between Marie and the prominent physicist Paul Langevin, a former student of Pierre's who was 5 years younger than Marie. Despite being unhappy with his legal wife, Paul was still married. The affair between Marie and Paul, if it could be called that, came to light when Paul's wife, suspicious of the situation, hired a man to break into their apartment and steal compromising letters. These letters were eventually leaked to the press, tarnishing Marie's reputation. Despite the media attention, neither Marie nor Paul commented on their relationship. In response to a critic, Marie stated, "I believe there is no connection between my scientific work and the facts of private life." The front page coverage of the scandal threatened to overshadow another major news event that year: her second Nobel Prize. The scandal was blown out of proportion, and there were even threats that Marie might lose her Nobel Prize. The Nobel Science Academy allegedly stated that the King of Sweden refused to shake hands with an adulteress. Despite being awarded her second Nobel Prize, the nominating committee attempted to discourage her from traveling to Stockholm to personally accept it, hoping to avoid further scandal. With her personal and professional life in turmoil, Marie fell into a deep depression and withdrew as much as possible from the public eye. Around this time, Marie received a letter from Albert Einstein. The two had first met in 1911 at the prestigious Solvay Conference in Brussels, an invite-only event that brought together the world's leading physicists. Marie was the only woman among the 24 attendees, and it was there that a friendship began to form. In his letter, Einstein expressed his admiration for Marie, offering heartfelt advice on how to navigate the scandal. "I am impelled to tell you how much I have come to admire your intellect, your drive, and your honesty," he wrote. "I consider myself lucky to have made your personal acquaintance." Regarding the media frenzy attacking her, Einstein encouraged Marie to simply not read that hogwash, but rather leave it to the reptile for whom it has been fabricated. The kindness of her respected colleague was no doubt uplifting. With renewed strength, Marie recovered and courageously traveled to Stockholm to accept her second Nobel Prize in recognition of her services to the advancement of chemistry by the discovery of the elements radium and polonium, by the isolation of radium, and the study of the nature and compounds of this remarkable element. Marie was the first person to win 2 Nobel Prizes in 2 different scientific fields. Yet, just as her career reached new heights, the following year brought a new challenge. At the end of 1911, Marie's health took a turn for the worse. She underwent surgery to remove lesions from her uterus and kidney. After a lengthy recovery period, she resumed her travels and returned to her scientific work in 1913. She went on to establish and lead a new research facility in Warsaw. However, when World War I broke out while she was setting up a second institute in Paris, she shifted her focus to applying her scientific breakthroughs to medicine. During the war, Marie developed mobile radiography units called Little Curies, which brought X-ray technology to the front lines, greatly aiding surgeons in locating and removing shrapnel and bullets from injured soldiers. Not only did she personally train and oversee young women to operate the equipment, but she also drove one of the mobile units herself, despite the risks of being so close to the battle. She set up 200 additional permanent X-ray posts across the front. By the war's end, it was estimated that her X-ray units, as well as the radon gas syringes she designed to disinfect wounds, saved the lives of up to 1 million soldiers. During the war, Marie also attempted to donate her gold Nobel Prize medals to the French National Bank, but they refused her generous offer. In 1922, Marie was offered the prestigious Legion of Honor by the French government. Interestingly, this recognition came after the United States offered a significant monetary award to support her research. This likely prompted France to finally acknowledge her achievements, embarrassed by the fact that she had no official French distinctions to display in public. Marie declined the offer. As time passed, Marie's scientific legacy continued through her family. By 1925, Marie's eldest daughter, Irene, had earned her doctorate and joined her mother in researching radioactivity. A decade later, Irene and her husband, Frédéric Joliot, were jointly awarded the Nobel Prize in Chemistry for their pioneering work in synthesizing new radioactive elements. Although Marie took great pride in seeing her daughter and son-in-law's success, she did not live to witness them receiving the Nobel Prize. Like many new medical innovations, the dangers of radioactivity were not immediately understood. Marie passed away on July 4, 1934, from aplastic anemia, a rare blood condition in which the bone marrow ceases to produce healthy red blood cells. Her condition was almost certainly caused by prolonged exposure to radiation during her years of research. In fact, much of Marie and Pierre Curie's laboratory notes and personal belongings remain highly radioactive due to prolonged exposure to radium and other radioactive elements during their research. These items, including their lab notebooks, are stored in lead-lined boxes and can only be handled with appropriate precautions. Due to the immense radiation exposure she endured throughout her career, her remains were placed in a lead-lined coffin to contain any residual radiation. She was laid to rest at the Panthéon in Paris, a place reserved for France's greatest figures. Marie's groundbreaking work ensured that her legacy extended far beyond her lifetime, as her discoveries paved the way for the use of radioactive elements in cancer treatment. Radium introduced an innovative approach to tumor therapy, an area that continues to develop in modern medicine. Marie's story is more than just one of scientific achievement. It's a testament to extraordinary perseverance in the face of adversity. It wasn't just her groundbreaking discoveries that made her a legend, it was her fight for recognition in a world that wasn't ready for her.